everything right, it was you and me.
Hello everyone, my name is Nayeema and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about toxic romances. So if you missed yesterday's video, I am doing the 12 days of Christmas with my friend M here on BookTube, and basically every day up until Christmas we are uploading a video and I'm so excited about it. I really wanted to do Vlogmas. That didn't work out with school, but I'm finally home and I can film and read as much as I please. That's why I really wanted to do this. I took a break off of filming for a few weeks, but I'm back and I'm ready to get at it. Toxic romances. I personally cannot stand. Everybody right now is talking about Christmas romances and holiday romances, and personally I have never been one to enjoy holiday romances. I don't know what it is. I think it's the general sweetness of it and the cuteness, and you know what, sometimes I like that, but I don't know, I just find it cringy for some reason. I wish I wasn't like this, but I am, and I refuse to pick one up. Like, I just literally won't. People are recommending me holiday romances and holiday cute little books, and I'm like, I just can't do it. I can't. I don't know what it is. So I really wanted to stick to my roots today and talk about some toxic romances. I have been in the mood to read that during this holiday season. Well, I feel like the Grinch. Am I the Grinch that stole Christmas? I don't know. That's what we're talking about today. Obviously, toxic romances are not to be desired at all. They're just not. This is purely fiction, and if this is not something that you would enjoy, then I'd recommend dipping. But if you are like me and you love a good toxic romance, then stay tuned because I have some really good ones to recommend. I feel like some people might be offended by my choice words in the title. They're gonna be like, ew, toxic romances. Yes, toxic romances. What's that TikTok? The girls that get it, and the girls that don't. That's what I have to say about toxic romances. So I'm very excited to sit down and talk to you guys about them today, and without further ado, let's get right into today's video. So the first book that I am going to recommend to you guys today is Bitter Heat by Mia Knight. I talked about this book, I think when I was talking about dark romances or something along the lines. This is not a really dark book. It is just the toxic relationship that I feel makes it a darker book than most. And so this book follows Jasmine and James, and Jasmine and James were married, they were in love, they were living life, they were living large, until James got a little bit unwell. And you know me, I go feral for unhinged, unwell men in fiction. This is why I love this book so much. Like, he is not well. He is genuinely not well, and I'm not well for enjoying it, and hopefully you guys aren't either, because I feel like the unwell girlies will get it and will love this. These two were in love, and it is kind of like a second chance romance, but with a very toxic man involved. And so these two got married, they were happy. Jasmine comes from a very wealthy family. Her dad is really rich, and he's like a big mogul somewhere, I don't know. And so he never approved of James, because James was like from the wrong side of the tracks. He wasn't as rich as them. Like, he just never approved of them. So they run away and get married. But ever since Jasmine's dad did not approve of James, James is like, oh, I feel like that like stuck with him in his mind, and he was like, I need to be rich, I need to be successful, so much that he starts putting his work and his career and money above Jasmine. And so Jasmine was like, this is not what I signed up for, I'm leaving. And so she leaves, they get a divorce, she goes on to live her best life. So she was super happy, but she stayed in close contact with James's mother. Her and his mother are pretty close. So one day Jasmine is on her way to go visit James's mother. James's mother ends up getting sick or like falling or some type of thing that lands her in the hospital. And so because Jasmine is not family, the doctors call her son, her ex-husband. They're finally reunited after all these years, but unfortunately there is a huge, fortunately there is a huge snowstorm, and it is not safe for Jasmine to go home and or fly or drive or whatever she was doing. So they have to stay in the mom's house together, just the two of them. And old conversations are brought up. This man is beyond toxic. I don't want to give too much away, but a big plot of this story is the fact that he is blackmailing her, and it is simply fantastic. And I don't care how crazy I sound, I love a good blackmail. So this one's super fun, super steamy. He is so unwell. One of my favorite quotes in here, One of my favorite quotes in here, one second, I'm gonna read it. So Jasmine says, I grew wings after I left you. I soared without you. And then he goes, I'll burn your fucking wings. What? Why do I like that? Why did I literally gasp? I was like, oh, you'll burn her wings. Oh my God. I loved the heat. I loved the push and pull. He was dominant and possessive, but with a hint of vulnerability, which I really appreciate because it's like, all right, we have to add some realistic, not that there aren't like unwell men like this, but I feel like it's hidden more. I mean, I don't know. I've never been in a relationship, so you let me know, but I liked that there was a hint of vulnerability within our hero James, and it was just so good. The one thing that I will say is that this book leaves off on a huge cliffhanger. I'm sorry, I still would recommend that you read this because honestly it was a good time, and you get to wait and be excited for the next book. Do I know when the next book is coming out? No, but just read it. I think you would really enjoy it if you liked what I just described to you about toxic relationships in fiction and romance books, and it's a really great time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So the next book that I'm going to talk to you guys about today is one that I feel like I talk about a lot but don't talk about enough, and that is of course Ecstasy by KV Rose. I swear I'm going to keep screaming about this until it gets the hype that it deserves, and it has yet to do so. Thank you to everyone who has DM'd me saying, oh my gosh, I just read Ecstasy, it was so amazing, because I know, and like I'm so glad that people are discovering this book because of me and reading it and loving it and enjoying it. That literally warms my heart. But this book is anything but warm. Like this book is so awful, so depraved, so deranged, and I loved it. And I feel like if you like the show Euphoria, you will absolutely love this book. I feel like Ecstasy was influenced by Euphoria, and it just makes me so happy. I'm planning on doing a reread of this soon with my friend Emmy from Emmy is Reading. We're so excited about it. The book follows 3 people. We have Zara, Alex, and Eli. First of all, let me just say all these characters are like completely batshit. So if you are expecting to go in with at least one of them being sensible, you're not gonna get that here. Like none of these characters are right in the mind. Kind of loved it. Like I literally just, I read this in one sitting. I was so obsessed, and it was just so, it was a ride. It was so much fun. So we have Zara, and she is the heroine of the story. She is a drug addict. She is unwell. She's just not okay, basically. Then we have Alex. Alex is Zara's on again and off again boyfriend who has really bad anger issues. He's kind of like the popular man on campus. Gives me Nate from Euphoria vibes is the perfect way to describe him. Like that is Nate to a T. And then we have Eli. Eli is the broken, damaged, bad boy. And so this is kind of like a love triangle, but I've said this so many times, this is not a traditional love triangle. I know people don't like love triangles, but when I tell you that this is so different from a love triangle, I could like, this is a love triangle, but it's not. You know, not your typical romance at all is what I'm trying to say. Basically, in the very beginning, the very opening scene, Zara and Alex get into a humongous fight. It's awful. It's a horrible fight, and Eli is Alex's roommate, so he has always witnessed Alex and Zara's toxicity, and so he sees this fight go down. He's like, well, I've been kind of into Zara for some time now. I feel like this is the time to swoop in and show interest because there's no way they're getting back together after this. So Eli starts pursuing Zara, and Zara is just kind of like trying to find love anywhere. She is still super attached to Alex. They still text, it's very much on again, off again, and not in a relationship way, but just like in contact way. Like they'll talk to each other, they won't talk to each other. Zara is keeping it on the down low that she's now talking to Alex low-key, and that's all I really can say about this book. Trigger warnings for drug usage, like heavy drug usage, drug abuse, and that is all, and like murder and killing, I guess. That's all I can really think about. This takes place on a college campus, and it is so much fun. This is everything to me. This will always be my favorite book, and I need to reread it soon. And that's all I can really say. I feel like you have to go into this blind. Definitely check up on trigger warnings just in case I missed any, but this book is so amazing and it is so toxic. I literally was in shock. She was too stunned for words. Like I was stunned for words. It was amazing. You guys need to read this if you have not already. So the next book is a book that I recently read, and that is Wicked Lies Boys Tell by K. Webster. So this is one that I feel like is very reminiscent of Wattpad, toxic relationship vibes, like After. And I feel like if you're just kind of in the mood for like a Wattpad romance, something that gives off those vibes, this is the one to do so. And it's a fun time. It's an MM romance. There is jealousy, there is toxicity beyond like repair. There's so much jealousy. I was literally like, boy, like seriously, like I know what you're doing. This book follows Penn and Copeland, and these two have been best friends for years and years and years. When they were friends growing up, obviously it was super innocent until Penn started developing feelings for Copeland, and one drunken night Penn goes in for a kiss, and their friendship has never been the same ever since. Copeland ends up punching him and he swears him off, and they stop being friends for I think it's 2 years, but obviously they go to the same school, they live next door to each other, and they're in the same classes. So obviously Penn has developed feelings for his best friend Copeland. He is super in love with him. He will literally find himself staring at him across the room during class, and Copeland is just giving him death stares. He's like, stay away from me, like you ruined everything. Our friendship was perfect. I like this book because it gives you flashbacks as well. These two were like brothers, like they were super close, like it was a super intimate relationship, basically like ruined because Penn went in for a kiss. These two decide to become friends again. Things are changing in their lives. So Penn is like the star quarterback for his school's football team, and then Copeland has become like the bad boy, tons of tattoos, and he has like a long-term girlfriend of 2 years. So Copeland ends things with his girlfriend. Penn breaks his arm, and basically their future is just really uncertain, and that kind of brings them back to each other. Copeland is always saying like, you better not kiss me, like please stay away, like don't kiss me, don't ruin what we have. Penn is like, I regret that kiss, I would take it back because we lost all this time, 2 years. But it is very clear that Copeland has not been 100% honest with his feelings and where he lies. Penn is like, okay, well, I'm not sure that I'm 100% gay. I've only ever had feelings for one guy, you. Copeland's like, okay, well, we need to figure out what this is. Like, you need to go and start seeing other men. He suggests men for Penn to start dating and start getting to know. And Copeland literally takes it back within like chapters within each other. He's like, actually, never mind, I don't like him. And he's just like the epitome of jealous. Like he is so incredibly jealous, and that's where the toxicness comes from. Also, I'd say the toxicness comes from the fact that Copeland is like, oh, you, like he will literally say the most horrible things to Penn, and he would genuinely hurt Penn, and then they'd like fool around and do stuff together. And so that was very much the dynamic. It was like jealousy. It was like, I don't want you that way, and then go, I want you that way. It was a lot of back and forth. It was a lot of push and pull. I will say that the smut was magnificent, like so good. If I had read this book a few years ago, it would for sure be a 5 stars. So that's why I recommend it for somebody who kind of is in the mood for a little Wattpad toxic romance, embodies a Wattpad romance, the toxic ones especially. And if you like that, I feel like you should give it a chance. It is like childhood friends to enemies to lovers, and it is so good. It is so great. So the next book that I'm going to talk to you guys about today is one that I feel like is definitely less toxic than the ones that I've been talking about so far, and that is Hooked by 𝕬𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪, I believe is how you say her last name. And this is really cool. So this is a dark reimagining retelling of Peter Pan, with the love interest being Hook and Wendy, and it is like so good. I loved this book. This book is set like in today's time, no magic, no fantasy, and we have Hook, and he is basically like a criminal, sells pixie dust, which is like drugs, and he wants revenge on Peter. In this story, Peter is Wendy's father. Peter is a criminal as well. It's just that Peter is a little bit worse than Hook because Peter has killed Hook's family. Hook's entire life, he has wanted to avenge their deaths, and he wanted revenge on Peter. When Peter and his daughter Wendy and his son, I think his name is John, they move to Hook's town. They live in a huge ass mansion. Wendy walks directly in Hook's line of vision. One night, Wendy is working with her coworkers, and they invite her out to the Jolly Roger, which is Hook's club. Wendy doesn't know who Hook is yet. She's like, yeah, sure, that sounds like fun. She doesn't really get out out a lot. She just had moved there, and Wendy is struggling a lot with things too. Peter, her father, is never home. Her mother died when she was younger. She basically had to raise her younger brother. She just kind of wants to like let her hair down, have fun, so she goes to the Jolly Roger with some friends. Hook, I believe that he recognizes her right away. That is Peter Michelson's daughter, Wendy. I'm gonna use her and get revenge on Peter for everything that he did, and he killed my family and yada yada yada. Trying to seduce Wendy, and Wendy is very much seducible. Like there were so many times in this book where I wanted to slap the shit out of her because she was just she wasn't playing the game. Do you guys ever get annoyed when like a heroine like doesn't go out of her way to make someone jealous, doesn't use her cards right, she like sits and waits for him all night? Like, I just hate that. I'm like, please pull yourself together. Like, what are you doing? You have to play the game. Play the game. And so Wendy was not playing the game, and that really irked me. I will say that Hook is probably one of the most like dominating men that I've read in a while. It was super great. He was super alpha, an asshole, and he basically uses his charm and seduction on Wendy, and Wendy falls hard and fast until something happens with someone in Hook's life that he loved and cherished, and he instantly thinks that Wendy has been working with Peter, her father, to take down Hook. Quickly the tables turn and Hook's gloves are off. He's like, okay, you want to like fool me, you want to do this and that. So he starts treating her horribly. He like captures her, and it is amazing. It is amazing. I will say that there was definitely like a little bit of a shift during the second half. I think it definitely got cheesy and unrealistic, but I think that the toxicity in here was like excellent. I loved the passion between these two. There was just so much chemistry between them, and the smut scenes were off the pages, like off the charts. I was so hooked. I've never read a Peter Pan reimagining or retelling, and I definitely want to read more if there are even. This is the first one that I've ever heard of, but I'm super excited to read the second book in the her retelling series. I have no idea what it's inspired, but the cover is beautiful. It's called Scarred, and I'm so ready for it. This wasn't incredibly toxic, but it definitely does have toxic elements, especially within the hero, and I just thought it was a really fun time and a really great retelling. And the last book that I'm going to be talking to you guys about today is one that is an oldie but a goodie. If you've been watching my channel for a long time, you know that this used to be one of my favorite books, and I want to reread it too, honestly. This is just such an amazing book if you like what I like, which is toxic men and toxic relationships and unhinged men and people who will literally make you rethink your entire life. It is basic, it is well loved, but also well hated, and I feel like the girls that get it will get it. And if you have not read this book and this series, you absolutely need to. And of course, I am talking about Vicious by 𝓿𝓲𝓬𝓲𝓪. I know the eye rolls, I know, but I love this book, and I feel like this was after I read After and like Wattpad for a good like 2 years. I feel this was the first toxic relationship romance that really just sent me, that really was just like, I was like, oh, no way, you're joking, you know, like that was. So this has a special place in my heart just because I loved it so freaking much, and I still feel like if I read this right now I would absolutely adore it. But that is Vicious by 𝓿𝓲𝓬𝓲𝓪, and if you have not read it, what are you doing with your life? This book is everything. It is amazing. It is the epitome of a toxic romance. This book is about Amelia and Vicious, and Vicious, okay, I'm just gonna cringe while describing this book because 𝓿𝓲 doesn't make it easy for herself. She really doesn't. But anyways, Vicious is a nickname. His name is Baron, but everybody from his school and area calls him Vicious. He is in a friend group with 3 other guys, and they're the most popular boys in Todos Santos, and they rule the school, they rule the town. Their fathers and parents all own the city, and they basically are living large. They all live in huge ass mansions. They live in these huge ass mansions, and they're just living life. Vicious is very much the boy in the friend group, and the friend group is called the Hot Holes. I know, Hot Holes. So Vicious is very much the hot hole who is the bad boy, but like just like the edgy, like gloomy bad boy, and I love him for this. It is the summer before senior year, I believe. Amelia has come from like the opposite end of the spectrum. Her parents are working people, they're hardworking, and Vicious's family had just hired Amelia's mother and father to basically run their house for them. Amelia's mom is the cook, and I think she's like the cleaner. Amelia's father is the gardens and the pool person, and basically they take care of the house for them. Amelia and her younger sister Rosie, and then their two parents, they move into like the servant house that is directly next to Vicious's huge mansion. Right away, these two get off on the wrong foot. Amelia's mom is like, I need you to go upstairs and ask for the pay early because Amelia's sister is very sick. She needs the money to go pay for medicine. So Amelia walks up the stairs in this huge mansion, knocks on the door, and she overhears a conversation that she was not supposed to hear. Vicious opens the door, notices Amelia's there, and he's like, oh, no, this is not how it's gonna happen. This is not how it's gonna work. You listening to my personal conversations that you had no business listening to, I'm gonna make your life a living hell. And that he does, while also being so obsessed with her. I still to this day don't think I've read a romance with the level of obsession that Vicious has for Amelia. Okay, Amelia is starting her senior year there at the school that Vicious owns. She is the target for bullying and just like harassment, and Vicious does not make her life easy. Like, this is very much also a bully romance. This also takes place between two timelines, 10 years after their senior year and then obviously their senior year. I don't want to get into the exact details of what happens, but I kind of just wanted to give you like the premise of what it's about. But there's just certain things in here that stick in my mind, and the fact that like Vicious would collect pencils that Amelia would leave on her desk and just be so enthralled by her and wanting to know everything about her, and like while hating her, like literally he hates her, but he's also obsessed with her. And I think it is such an amazing toxic relationship romance, and I feel like if you haven't read it, you really should. The whole entire series is amazing. I wouldn't say the rest aren't as toxic as this one, but the other books in the series have pretty cool things. Like the second one is a teacher-student romance, and then the third one is with Amelia's younger sister Rosie and Dean, who is in this book a lot. There's lots of things that I love in here, like jealousy and just obsession. Like those two things will literally get me rating your book 5 stars. That's all I really need. I think that if you like toxic romances and fiction, obviously, that you should definitely pick this book up. It made me swoon. I was literally not okay. I love this book with my entire heart, and I really want to do a reread of this very soon. So that was the last book that I'm going to talk to you guys about today for toxic romance, is toxic relationship romances. Again, this is purely fiction. I do not condone toxic relationships in real life. I don't support it. I don't think there's anything fun about them in real life. This is fiction. These are fictional characters, not real feelings, not real emotions. So take with that what you will. Again, the girls that get it, get it. The girls that don't. Hopefully you're a girl that gets it and you will love these books as much as I do. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a big like and a comment down below, and also subscribe so you never miss another upload from me. Especially want to subscribe during these 12 days leading up to Christmas, because again, I'm uploading a video every single day along with my friend Em. She will be linked down below, and she is also doing a recommendation video today. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you tomorrow with a new video. Bye!